Hola estudiantes, no tengo video hoy porque no me veo muy bien, no me duché, no me lavé el pelo, no me maquillé. Yeah, it's not pretty. So, no video today, but you don't need to see me for anything. So, couple announcements before we get started. If you have not already printed out the notes that I'd like you to take for this, I have a handout that I would have given you in class, but since we're not, I'd like you to print that out ahead of time so that you can take notes as you go through today's PowerPoint with some of the command things that we're going to be working on. The other thing is we have a prueba in the next class, which since we're observing Good Friday this coming viernes, the next class will not be until lunes. Normally we would have had lunes off, but we will be having class on that day to make up for the week that we were off in between going from on campus to online classes. So, keeping that in mind, have your vocab handy, have your notes handy so that you can take notes with this. And we'll get started. As you see on the screen ahead of you, we talked the last class about where you see commands in your everyday life, and you see them everywhere. You see things like, you've said things already today to somebody like, close the door, or get me a snack, or don't touch me. And you've said things, open the window, close the window, don't do this. So you've heard them and you've given them already many times today, I'm certain. We talked about how Scripture has them. Scripture has lots of them, and there are 10 pretty famous ones. Los 10 mandamientos. And the numbers that I have after each one come from the verse in Exodus 20, I believe, where these appear, where God gave the commands to Moses on Mount Sinai. What I think is interesting about this is in the translation in Spanish, what you'll notice is that, remember when we talked the last class about these commands and who they are for? They are for a familiar person. They are for one person and a familiar person, a tu person. We will learn in the next chapter how to do commands to formal people and groups of people, and those are done a little bit differently, similar but a little bit differently. What you'll find is that in Exodus, when God had Moses go up on the mountain to write down on the tablets the commandments that he was giving to his people, notice how he addresses them. He doesn't address them in a mass group. He addresses them in that really familiar, that really intimate tu form of the verb. I think that's telling. I don't know if this is why, but to me, it makes sense because of the fact that when we are told to do something, if we're told in this mass group, we have the tendency as humans to disregard that. Well, it's not for me. It's maybe for somebody else. It's not for me. But notice that when he gives these commands, and if that was true in the original language, that Aramaic, I believe, that the Israelites were used to hearing, or Hebrew, in that original language, I'm guessing that if that had that same different way to address somebody, they heard this from Moses in a very familiar, intimate way. God was giving these commands to each person individually. And that means that I can't just disregard it. I can't just push it aside and say, well, that's not really for me, it's for somebody else. So I think that's really telling. As you look at these, you can see some of those, no tengas otros dioses, do not have other gods. We're going to talk more about negative commands today. No hagas ningún ídolo, do not make any idol. No te inclines, do not bow down in front of them. Ni los adores, nor worship them. No pronuncies el nombre del Señor, do not pronounce the name, do not say the name of the Lord your God lightly. Acuérdate del sábado, remember the Sabbath. Trabaja 6 días, haz en ellos, do in them everything you can do, everything you have to do. Honra a tu padre y a tu madre. And then we finish with several negative commands, which again we're going to get to more today. Don't kill, no mates. No cometas adulterio, do not commit adultery. No robes, do not steal. No des, don't give falso testimonio. Y no codicies la casa de tu prójimo, do not covet your neighbor's house, among all the other things. So just an interesting thing to start with. The next slide has, get it there. The next slide has a few of those irregular ones that we really ran out of time for last time, but I hope that you saw those on your notes and filled those in from the PowerPoint. So do something, haz algo. When you have, when there's stuff in the world that you don't like, do something, haz algo, do something. There's, I believe, an African proverb there with the two lions where the father says to the son, Hijo, ten cuidado. Son, be careful, have care, have caution. Por donde caminas, for about where you're walking. And the little guy says back to his dad, Papá, ten cuidado tú, you be careful, Dad. Recuerda que yo sigo tus pasos. I follow your steps. So, ten cuidado, haz algo. And then the little fishy with the big lips, ready for a big old beso. So, ven aquí, kid, come here, y dame un besito, and give me a little kiss. So, ven, haz, ten. We talked about those really briefly at the end of the last class, and we'll continue to talk about those today and add a little bit more vocab. I thought it was an important thing to just, in the time that we are in, I've been on several web pages about how to best keep the coronavirus from spreading, and I found this one site that I thought I would just copy and paste what their suggestions were for parents. ¿Qué le digo a mi hijo? What do I tell my son or my daughter, my child, sobre el coronavirus? It's the same word in Spanish, just pronounced a little bit differently. And notice that the commands there to do things and then to not do some things as well. And we'll, again, talk more about those forms and how you form them, which you practice for today. So, lávate las manos por 20 segundos con agua caliente y jabón. Tose y estornuda en el pliegue, in the, like the corner, I don't know what that word is, in the bend, I guess, del codo, of the arm, of your elbow. Codo is your elbow. Y después lávate las manos de nuevo. So, lávate las manos es una recomendación importante. No te toques la cara, la nariz y la boca. You guys know that one. No te toques. Notice that those pronouns go in front. Don't touch yourself. Your own face, your own nose, and your own mouth. No te toques. Guarda una distancia mínima de 6 pies. Keep a minimum distance of 6 feet entre tú y la otra gente. Quédate en casa. We had the verb quedarse, stay. Keep yourself in one place. So, quédate en casa. Negative command, no juegues en el parque con amigos o compañeros de clase. And diles a tus padres si tienes síntomas. One of the other irregular ones is from the verb decir, to say or to tell. So, diles a tus padres. Di is the command. Tell to them, who are the them, a tus padres, tell your parents, si tienes síntomas. So yeah, notice again how those look, what those commands look like, the he, she form of the verb, if it's an affirmative command, and if it's a negative command, notice that S is at the end of that. We'll spend more time on that today. First, however, take out your vocab sheet, and I would like us to do 2 boxes that are both labeled with the number 35. One is the tecnología box just below what we did the last class, and then one is just a la derecha, just the first box of la computadora. We're not going to do the one below it, just the top box, and I would like us to, I'm going to pause the video here in a second, and I would like you to take a second to say aloud those words that you see in la tecnología, so starting with the verb apagar, to turn off. Some of these you probably used in your assignment for today because I asked you to turn on or turn off things and make commands out of those. And then also say aloud the words that you see in la computadora, starting with the word archivo, el archivo. Some of these words, again, are going to look really close to English, but avoid the temptation to pronounce them like you would in English. You're going to want to say that word archivo because it looks a lot like the word archive. Yes, it does, and that helps you to remember it. However, CHs in Spanish are always going to be pronounced ch, so archivo. I'm going to pause it here. You pause it as well. Read through those 2 lists of vocab and then come back and we will do a little bit of practice with those on this next slide. Ok, vamos a practicar el vocabulario con esta frase. Un momento. Con esta frase. Yo no puedo usar mi computadora. No blank. I'll tell you, it's a verb that comes from our verse tecnología list. So, no puedo usar mi computadora. It doesn't work, right? No funciona. No funciona. Next one. Tu computadora funciona, pero no es rápida. Es tan blank. Es tan lenta. O despacia, we have that the last vocab as well. So either of those words mean slow. Es tan despacia o lenta. If you're into music, you know that the word lento has to do with the speed at which a piece of music is played. El guardó. Guardar is going to be a new vocab word meaning saved. Ella guardó todos los documentos en muchos archivos, en muchos archivos. Notice the pronunciation again, archivos. Mi teléfono celular o mi celular está blank. Yo no puedo oír nada. Mi celular está descompuesto. No funciona. No funciona. Está descompuesto. To me, that word sounds a little bit like discombobulated. Maybe that helps you to remember that. Descompuesto. No puedo oír nada. Next one. No tengo mi tarea escrita conmigo hoy porque la blank en la residencia no funcionaba anoche. Porque la impresora en la residencia, the printer, you impress an image on a piece of papel, so impresora, impresora. Julio prendió, new vocab word right there, turned on, prender, to turn on, so prendió su celular a las 8 y lo a las 10. He did what to it? A las 10. Lo apagó a las 10. He turned it on and then he turned it off. Lo apagó a las 10. Last one. Recibo más o menos 10 blank, blank, blank cada día, todos los días. Yo recibo más o menos 10 mensajes de texto cada día. 20, I would say maybe. No, 10 hasta 20 mensajes de texto cada día. You guys probably get way more than that. Okay. I am going to go to the next slide here and ask you about, before this particular video ends, I have just a little bit over a minute, what do you guys remember? ¿Qué te acuerdas de los mandatos? Give it a pause here, and then I would like you to think about some of the rules from what we did the last class in my really cheesy video. Affirmative commands, negative commands, especially the affirmative ones. Tell yourself how you form those, what you remember about those. So I'm going to pause it right now. You do the same and come think about some of those things before we go on. So, the rule, if we talked about that the last class, if you were to make up a rule for the forming the 2 commands, this is the rule here. Usually, except for a few exceptions, you use the he, she, usted, el, ella, usted command form in the present tense, except for a few irregulars, like ven, di, se, as, ten, ve, pon, se. Now, Vin Diesel has 10 weapons. I've had students tell me they have little tricks to remember this. Notice that they all come from that little phrase, like Vin Diesel has 10 weapons. He was a big action movie star. So all of those come from those irregular ones that we talked about the last time. I am at the end of this video, so I'm going to finish this one, start up the next one, move on to the número 2, por favor.